God help us. Oh, I'm sorry, folks, but I am in a quandary sometimes. Like I said, I've had to live with this thing a long time. So, Alex Jones, you need to take a chill pill, man. You haven't had to watch this as long as me. You need to get angry and expose these people, but also be intellectually honest and talk about the cost of living tax. You talk about how, the house values went up in this neighborhood, gentrification is good and all this. And you're not talking about the whole story. You're not talking about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about the cost of living tax. And these special interest groups colluding to fix prices, manipulate markets. Talk about crony capitalism. Talk about how the bailout of '08 was utter and complete, total crony capitalism. That's what I want to hear you talk about, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Talk about all the implications of continually debasing our currents through continually rising our cost of living tax, and how that's no better to pay your burdensome, your oppressive cost of living tax to a private entity or to a public governmental entity. It's no better because it feels exactly the same. The effect is the same. The burden is the same. Okay, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, call it a damn duck, for God's sake, for crying out loud. Please, please, Alex Jones, you're so influential on people. You could do so much, man, if you just spell out these nuts and bolts, 2 plus 2, intellectually honest, logical, reasonable things I'm talking about here. You know it's true. The stuff I talk about, a little child can understand. Anybody with an IQ above lukewarm can understand the stuff I talk about. But yeah, I just think that Alex Jones beats himself up a lot by letting himself, like he terms it, letting himself off the leash. That this is where, like Jesus said, it's not what goes in our mouths that defiles us. So I'm not holding it against him for being a big meat eater, but it's what comes out of our mouths that defiles us. And I'm not sitting here on a pedestal as Mr. Perfect either. I openly, readily admit and confess my own shortcomings and failings on that subject. I just, all we can do is take the bull by the horns and try to make changes in our own lives and our own thought system. Last week I said that I voted against the legalization of pot. And it's not that I'm against pot, okay? It's not that at all, okay? Think about it. I was brought up in the 60s and 70s, so I'm very familiar with pot, okay? But I believe in decriminalization. I'm opposed to the war on drugs. The whole thing with legalization, which I knew anybody thinking person could figure out, it's all about taxes and making money. And remember, there's a lot of people neoliberals that think of taxes in such a good way. It's always good that you tax. It goes to this agency or that, and it's good for the coffers of the government agencies. And a lot of liberals are involved in the government agencies, we know. So anytime they say taxes, that's good. It's going to be good. So this is all it was really about. It was all the way about to make money. And then you get the regulations that are more about collecting taxes, right? That's what it becomes. So tobacco at one time, it started out, and did they decide to tax it? Okay, we did a little meager nominal tax on it. And now look at it today. You understand? So the same thing, it happens all over the place. Once they open that can of worms to tax it, they legalize it. No, just decriminalize it and put it in the status of broccoli or something. And, it becomes a moot issue. So I just wanted to clarify where I stood on that whole subject. Starbucks, what happened at Starbucks kicking out these two guys? Well, they happen to be black. We don't know that they wouldn't do the same thing if they were white or Asian or whatever. Okay, they have a policy, and it's a stupid policy. The coffee shops I patronize, okay, you take Santa Cruz, you go to the Santa Cruz coffee roasting shop. Anybody can use it. The public can walk in. They still have a number. You can lock the door from the inside. But you have a combination. You got to press the keys to open the door. So you got to go to the counter and get, but anybody can use it. And that's the kind of place I like to go to that will let anybody use it. Besides that, downtown Santa Cruz has lots of public toilets. So I'm hoping to get down there here in the next, 2, 3 weeks or so maybe. But I love that area. I've got friends down there. And I just love being by the ocean too. But the coffee shop I will go to is one like that. So I don't even go to Starbucks. A big giant corporate place. I don't patronize Starbucks. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever spent a penny at Starbucks, to be honest. Never been in there. But this whole idea that they're racist. Owen Schroyer had as a guest on the show this guy. What's he called? He's with this Hotep Nation, Jesus. This guy, black guy, really nice guy, really smart, cocky, good American guy. I really enjoyed watching him on the show. Really got a really nice, friendly, comedic demeanor, and he's the kind of human being that reinstills faith in my fellow man, that there's hope. If we can really cut to the chase, cut through the crap. I mean, if I was a black guy, I'd be like this guy. I'd want to be like him. I'd model myself after him. I'd say, hey, you could choose to think that you're a victim and hung up on, slavery that the vast majority of white people in America had nothing to do with. It's ancient history. And besides, white people have been enslaved too in various cultures. I mean, anybody could be we're all slaves now. They've made us all slaves, the way I point out, through minimum wage. Is like, what in the hell? Why wasn't this tied in with the cost of living? It'd be $40 an hour by now. So yeah, that's slavery. Overt, in your face. Legitimized slavery. That's what we got going on here. So yeah, I'm against anybody being, hey, if it's you're stinking racist, you're a piece of crap. That's my attitude. You're an immature piece of crap, okay? And if people are, let them utilize their free speech to expose themselves, okay? Let them cut their own throat. Shoot themselves in the foot by exposing themselves as racist. Good. So we'll say, well, we got your number. You're an idiot. You're immature. You're an a-hole. And, that's that. We can alienate you until you come to your senses and you're in your right mind and you have an epiphany and see the light that we're one family, one race, one species, and that God's certainly not a racist. He's the one that created the black man. He's the one that created the white man and the Asian man, the yellow man, the red man, the brown man. Okay, so yeah, it's just stupid. Just see us as a family and all this nonsense will end. If people like, if I choose to like white women more than I like black women, then that's my prerogative. If I choose to like Asian women more than white women or brown women, I mean, Latino, Middle Eastern, whatever. Everybody's got beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So just let us be who we want to be, okay? And let's just, it's kind of a decision you got to make. I'm going to be who I want to be, and I've talked about this before, but in life, that's how it is. It's just like my wife, she kind of screwed up in the marriage. And, well, I screwed up first, so her screwing up was justified. Quote, justified. I mean, she didn't have to do what she did, but she did, and that's her prerogative. It takes two to tango. And so, anyhow, there's a lot of circumstances I'm not going to get into here, but I was a single dad for a long time, and I chose not to sue her for child support. I never went on welfare during that period when I was a single parent raising my kids, because that would have triggered her having to pay child support. But it was the person I chose to be, and I worked very hard to run my business as an entrepreneur, self-employed landscaper, to bring my daughters to 2 different schools by their choice, and to before I got to go to work, or maybe I'd go to work while they were still sleeping, sometimes when it was still dark, just to make ends meet. And that was who I chose to be. I didn't want to sue her. I'm kind of a gallant. I guess I'm kind of a little chauvinistic maybe in that sense. I'm the kind of guy that'll open a door for a woman, and put their needs first, women and children first kind of guy. But you choose to be the person you choose to be. And I chose to never sue her for child support. And to this day, I'm glad that she knows, hey, she's got fewer and fewer reasons to hate me And that's the least I can do, because what is written in Scripture, he is not, God doesn't like divorce. He hates it. It's not right. It's a problem, not a solution. But he calls us to peace, is what's written. And so I just want to forgive her. I want her to be happy and to be who she wants to be and needs to be, and true to herself and her conscience. And all we can do, if we've screwed up in our past, it's, so what? It's a little humiliating, but we all screw up. No, if somebody wants to judge you and condemn you, that's their business. Even if it's your own kids, you can't, people don't have to forgive. You can't force it. You can desire it, let them know you wish that they would forgive you. But it sometimes entails admitting and confessing that you did something wrong. And then a lot of people have ego and false pride and all this stuff. All those obstacles to admitting when we hurt somebody else. So it's a big problem. You learn about this stuff going through a 12-step program. This idea of making amends to people when you hurt them. But a lot of people can't do that. They're not ready for that step. Because that, again, that's, being untrue to themselves. Say, no, I'm prideful, and yes, I'm meant to do that, and I don't regret doing that. I'm not sorry for doing that. I just did what I chose to do. That is my life. I'll do what I want, right? So a lot of people have a rationale, have a reasoning for not confessing and admitting when they do wrong to others and hurt others. So you got to kind of let it go. Okay, on to some thoughts from the past couple of weeks or so. As proven through history, quote, going with an evil establishment flow, end quote, only landed folks on the rocks at the bottom of the falls. So too, going with the grain of an evil establishment will certainly give you slivers, splinters. There's no getting away from that, folks. You're going to get them. You run your hand over wood that's rough, guaranteed. Even if it's been smooth with sandpaper, you're still going to get slivers eventually, even on smooth wood. But if it's rough, unfinished, like the wood of this world and the establishment that just is just full of crap up one side and down the other, riddled and rife with fraud and misgivings and deceit and just a wholly evil system that we're told we must capitulate to, comply with, is like that rough wood, and going with the flow, going with the grain, okay, is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your conscience. It's going to be a snare, like a snare. That's what it's a splinter. It's a snag to your soul. That's where you're getting the slivers. It's in your conscience. It's taking away your freedom, but it's telling you, no, you're getting freedom from going with this. No, it's giving you happiness to just put money above your relationship with God and humanity. See, that's what I mean about going with the flow, and it's going to give you sliver. You will. You're going to get it through osmosis. You cannot divorce yourself from your fellow human being. End of story. Jesus spelled it out. It'd be like divorcing yourself from Jesus, the least of men. That's who he wanted us to, think of him as, okay, as the least of men. And what we do or fail to do in our thoughts, in our heart, out our mouth, and by our actions, then we do or fail to do for him. Advice for encountering the downtrodden. Don't wait for them to beg. If you can reasonably, that's subjective, right? Quote, reasonably, afford to give, lay some bread on them. Do it without judgment of whether they are drunkards, bums, lazy, or otherwise. Do it if only to show them some love. Like Jesus taught, use worldly wealth to win friends. Showing love to those whom feel unloved is a beautiful thing. And you will receive, invariably receive a blessing. It's true. Of all the things I've ever given away in my life, I'm not sorry for any of it. None of it. It's more blessed to give than to receive. I'm always glad for everything I've ever given. If we could all cop that attitude and realize it's true, look back at every time you gave something. Think about it. Whether you had a lot, medium, or little. Every time you gave something, in retrospect, you're happy you did it, just like I am. It's a beautiful thing. If you would admit and agree that we live in a world, a paradigm of rules and laws. Rules and laws, we are mandated by laws. We are informed we absolutely must do or absolutely must not do. Then you also must admit and agree that is in itself draconian and not in any way, quote, free, especially in light of the fact that those creating these rules and laws exempt themselves from having to follow them. Yeah, I mean, the whole system is draconian, up one side and down the other. I mean, that's the paradigm that we're forced to live in. Land of laws and crap that, apply selectively to people. It's very evil. It's very ungodly, the entire system. And to accept an iota of this crap is immoral.